everyone, this is HDSKieski here, and I have decided on my second channel to go ahead and start vlogging just a little bit. It's not going to be anything too in-depth or too crazy or too special effectsy or anything, but a lot of people have been requesting that I do Q&As and things like that. So what I'm thinking of doing for this is I'm going to kind of focus on one topic for each of these vlogs. And so I want you guys to submit questions. Originally I did it on Facebook, and that's where I'm going to be getting the first question. I also did Twitter, but from here on out I'm going to be doing it in the comments down below because it's easiest for me just to look at everything, consolidate it down, and then pick one topic for next week. So the very first topic today was given to us by Brock, and his question is multi-pronged and things like that. So really, again, the idea is that I want to talk about the things that you guys have been asking me about for a long time and finally just be able to kind of answer everything, help people out, give advice, and all of that. So that's kind of the point of this. We'll see how it goes, and if it's something that's cool, awesome. If it's something that's lame, then whatever, I'll just cast more StarCraft. But, so his question is, I have it on the screen behind me here. I guess it's technically behind the camera. What were your original goals for life after high school? How did you end up deciding to dedicate your life to esports, and how supportive was your family of that decision? So this is kind of a three-question, I guess, and it's a really good set of questions. So I want to answer them kind of step by step throughout each question that he has asked me. The first question was, what were your original goals for life after high school? Now, anyone that's in high school right now, or anyone that's been in high school, this is something that you're thinking about. Are you going to work at the family business? Are you going to be going to college? Are you going to be, trying to apply to a bunch of different jobs? You're really trying to figure out exactly what it is you want to do. Now, the majority of people, I would say, end up deciding, hey, I want to go to college. I think that that's kind of what high school is preparing you for. That's the mentality that they're, kind of, I wouldn't say forcing into your brain, but it's really, college is the next step after high school, which is what most people are thinking about, I would say. At least, most people that I knew, that's what they were thinking about. So after high school, I actually didn't have a major plan right away, and this is really interesting to me because everyone I knew in high school was totally stressing out about what are we going to do, where am I going to school, how are my SAT scores, and all that. And that is all really important stuff. I kind of wish that I would have taken it a little more seriously. But me personally, I'm someone who can kind of just like go with the flow. Just whatever happens in my life, I'm going to be able to take it and it'll be fine, and I'm going to be happy and cheery and all of that. So what that translated into in the real world was after high school, I was like, well, I'm working at a fast food place. Surely this is going to be a wonderful experience. I'm going to continue doing this for, I didn't know how long. I didn't really have a plan, to be quite honest. So when I graduated high school, I started working full-time at a fast food restaurant called Burgerville. And that is a fast food place that's only located in the Northwest. I think there's a couple in Washington, maybe one in Idaho, but the majority of them are inside Oregon itself. And there's about 40 or so of these restaurants. It's kind of like the In-N-Out. For anyone in California, it's like the In-N-Out of Oregon. Everything's local and it's really delicious. And I had a lot of fun working there. As far as working at fast food places goes, it was a lot of fun. But at the end of summer, so this is the summer after I graduated, I kind of realized, wait, I'm working with a lot of people who are in their 30s and who are in their 40s who are still working at a fast food place. Now, it's not to kind of like degrade them and be like, oh, why didn't you do more than this? It's more looking at myself and being like, do I really want to be doing this 3 months from now, a year from now, 10 years, 20 years? Because a lot of these people working at the fast food restaurant, I mean, facts are facts. They had been working there for 20 years and were making $1 more than I was per year, or not per year, but per hour, which is only like $1 over minimum wage. So I looked at that and I realized that a lot of those people were really down on themselves. They weren't happy with their life. They're just working every day to get by, paycheck to paycheck, and it really never, ever ends. And so that was something I looked at, and I was great friends with them. I love them, but I was looking at myself and being, no, I'm not going to do this. So I immediately signed up for community college, and there was a community college right by where I was working, so it was an easy transition. So I could work at the fast food place, go to community college, have it paid for by my fast food wages because community college is extremely cheap. Community college for me, for three or four classes, so it was full-time, 12 credits is what full-time is in Oregon, is about $800 to $900 a term. Now, our terms, at least in Oregon where I went to school, is 3 terms in a year, and then also summer term if you want to take it. So a total of 4 if you decide to go during summer. Most people don't, but it's not the semester system where it's chunk. And so that was probably the best choice as far as my own personal life that I ever made. Now, community college, I actually want to make a separate video on community college, but basically just to condense it down as best as I can, think of community college like the first 2 years of a 4-year degree. That's all they do is associate's degrees and transfer degrees, which are 2 years. It's the first 2 years of college, but it's at about 1/4 of the price, and your classes are about 30 or 40 people. Now, I really want to make a video about community college. I'm very pro community college, and I know a lot of people who've gone to community college as well as a mainstream college, and I will make a separate video, maybe actually after this one. But regardless, I decided to go to community college, and when I was going to community college, what I really wanted to do originally was I wanted to be a male nurse. Now, that's something that a lot of people laugh about, like, oh, male nurse. But actually, that's a really badass job. Especially in the nursing field, it's such a stigma of females are nurses. I mean, that's just kind of what you think of, like, a nurse. But there's a huge demand for male nurses out there because, number one, there's not that many male nurses, and number two, there is a lot of times in the nursing field that being a male helps a lot. Not only with having to, I don't want to sound sexist, but there are times when having males be able to lift the patients, be able to assist the patients, and on top of that, I think the more important one is a lot of times, you know, there'll be a patient who doesn't want to be being taken care of by a female. It actually happens, and a lot of people, especially in the gaming community, will laugh about it, like, oh, I'd love to have a female helping me, if you know what I mean. But you gotta remember, in the real world, a lot of people, especially older people, they don't want to be handled, cleaned, taken care of by a female nurse, and so it's nice to be able to have that. So that was something I really, really wanted to do. Now, unfortunately, with that one, once I started taking nursing, I was doing a nursing assistant program, which a nursing assistant is basically the bottom of the rung. It's like, if you want to become a chef, it's like starting as the dishwasher, basically. Because what the nursing assistants do is they do everything that is monotonous, physically challenging, you know, it can be dangerous at times, and you work under the RNs and everything else. You're basically at the bottom. So you're the one that's cleaning the patients, you're the one who's taking care of them, and a lot of time you work in nursing homes. So you get kind of the it's a lot of work, but it was one of the best experiences of my life because that course I was taking, it was to become a certified nursing assistant, which pays, I think, like $11 an hour or something like that. So for someone fresh out of high school, I was like, hey, this is a cool idea. So they had us in a nursing home, and that was the best eye-opening experience for me, to be in an environment where there's some older people who are very wealthy and they're just living there because they have everything taken care of, but they can still move around, they can brush their teeth, take their own showers and that. So you have that side, because living in a nursing home is very expensive. So to be able to do that early without insurance covering it and you're paying for it out of pocket, that is very expensive. And then on the flip side of that, you basically see people who are on their deathbeds. There's people who are there for hospice. There's people there who just, their siblings or their sons and daughters can't take care of them, or they don't have anyone to take care of them. And so really they're relying on you for survival, essentially. You're doing everything. You're helping them brush their teeth, take showers, you're helping them eat, you're helping them do everything. And it's a very humbling kind of experience. Just because someone is relying so heavily on you, and it can really kind of put everything into perspective, where when you go home that day, you realize, like, oh, I can actually eat by myself, I can take a shower, I can drive, I can hang out with my friends, I can play video games. And so it kind of put everything into perspective for me, to where it's like, you know what, I am extremely lucky right now. I am fairly healthy. I don't have any major, huge crisis in my life. And I think a lot of people who are in the same situation that I am, where everything is okay, like everything is really good, I think a lot of people kind of take that either for granted, or they kind of don't realize what they have. And so being able to see people who are in that situation really helped put things into perspective. So I finished that. The nursing home wanted to hire me on the spot just because they thought I was a pretty good CNA, but I decided not to go ahead and do that one because I felt like it was going to physically and mentally just completely beat me up. I've met a lot of CNAs out there, and you have to be very strong mentally and physically to be able to do that for an extended period of time. So I decided not to do that, and other goals that I really wanted was to be a veterinarian or to be a vet tech. But just through my research, and once I started taking the classes, it felt like something I really wanted to do and I was very passionate about, but it just didn't seem like it was me. Like I still felt like, even though I love taking care of people and taking care of animals, when I got home, I felt like there was really no way of taking care of myself. And so eventually I slowly, over the years, I changed degrees probably 4 or 5 times. I slowly landed on anything computer related, because I started to realize that I spend most of my time on computers, whether it's playing StarCraft. Back then it was StarCraft 1 because StarCraft 2 wasn't out yet. Whether it's playing StarCraft, Counter-Strike, doing anything online like watching YouTube, checking Facebook. I've always been a total nerd geek guy. And so I landed on computers, so I started taking computer science. At that point, I had been in community college for a couple of years. I transferred to U of O, University of Oregon, and I went there for a couple of terms. And this kind of transitions into the second part of his question, which was, how did you end up deciding to dedicate your life to esports? It was actually during my adventure time at U of O, which it was good to compare community college to a university and be able to attend both. And university, it's very interesting because your teachers are very, very well known, usually respected, usually very smart in their field. But on the flip side, the classes can be 300-400 people if you're taking general studies stuff, and also the teacher a lot of the time are focused on doing studies, which is awesome. That's where you see all these studies coming out of colleges and stuff like that. But as a student, I got kind of a weird vibe from it. But I was taking computer science, and I didn't realize that to do computer science, this is something that I think is very important for anyone out there who is trying to get in computer science, whether you're in high school, whether you're just going into college, or if you're just going back to school. Computer science is a lot of math and a lot of programming. Now for me, I wanted to be involved in a company that was doing awesome computer stuff, but I didn't necessarily want to write the code, and I sure as hell didn't want to do math because I'm horrible at doing math. So when I went there, they were like, okay, well you have to take these 9 math classes. These are upper level, like calculus. They had a lot of other stuff in there that I didn't even know how to begin. So they wanted me to take about 9 math classes, and I believe it was 8 or 9 programming classes for the degree. And I'll be completely honest, I really struggled because I didn't realize computer science, now looking back I should laugh at it, but computer science is mostly math and it's mostly programming. So if you're going into the computer science field, just know ahead of time there's a lot of upper math class you have to take and a lot of upper programming stuff that you have to take. And if you love that stuff, then it's the perfect field for you. But it took me a little bit by surprise, and I'll be completely honest, I was having a really hard time with it. Now, when I was taking those classes, I mean, I'd always played StarCraft, but I had discovered GOM TV. Now, a lot of you know GOM TV. They do the GSL. Tasteless and Artosis cast there full time. But back then, it was pretty underground. It only aired at around 4 a.m. once a week, and it had Tasteless casting by himself. And this was StarCraft 1 back then, and GOM TV was not the premier StarCraft league. Right now it is the premier StarCraft 2 league, but out of the 3, I don't know why it's hiding it, out of the 3, do you see them? Out of the 3 different leagues, there was the MSL, the SPL, and then there was also the OSL. So the SPL was the team league. So there's MSL, OSL were the individual leagues, and then the GSL, which was kind of like the underdog, the major underdog I would say, but it was the only one that had English casting, and that was with Tasteless. And so I would stay up ridiculously late. This was during the week, so I had classes in the morning. I would stay up until like 4 or 5 in the morning watching Tasteless cast, and I would bring in my friends because I lived with 3 of my good friends. We lived in the same townhome together, and we'd stay up, we'd watch it, it'd be awesome. But then they slowly kind of like, you know, went the other way because they loved watching it, but they weren't huge StarCraft fanatics. Plus, they actually wanted to go to class. Crazy, I know, right? And so they would kind of, you know, eventually drift off, and then eventually it was just me staying up really, really late to watch the GSL, and I loved it. But I also, when I was watching with my friends, I loved the feeling of being able to watch with a friend, experience it with a friend, be able to discuss the strategies. I was a Protoss player, so I kind of knew a little bit about what the goal of the Protoss race was in each matchup. But my friends were no longer watching. I can't blame them. So what I started doing is casting in English so I could show them to my friends. Literally, that's all it was I did some casts of some games that were not on the GSL because I'd already seen them, so I wanted to see more games. So I figured if I'm going to be watching these games anyway, I might as well be casting them because it takes about the same amount of work to watch a video as it does to cast it. Now, I later learned that that's not necessarily true because of all the work that goes in after you record the video, but in my mindset I was thinking, well, I'm spending the time watching it, I might as well share it with my friends so we can talk about it, watch it together again, and do that. So that's how I got started, and then the momentum started to get bigger and bigger, but it was really, really slow at first. I think it took me over a year to get 10,000 subscribers. So a lot of people don't know this, but I had 800 StarCraft 1 videos that I ended up deleting, and a lot of people ask me why I did that, and the reason I did it is because I felt kind of bad, because what I was doing is I was ripping the videos from Korean, from the Korean TV, because people were uploading all the VODs and stuff, and I would commentate over it in English. And it was kind of a gray area as to where, you know, they weren't casting them in English to begin with, so I was adding something, but I wanted to make sure that everything I do from now on is, you know, kind of my own work. I'm not taking it off of TV or anything, because I felt like esports needed to, in order to be legitimized, they had to make their own content, not rely on other people for that. So I eventually got rid of those, but I did cast about 800 StarCraft 1 videos before before StarCraft 2 came out, and I started to focus primarily on that. So the other parts of his question were, how supportive was your family of the decision? Now this is a question that a lot of people love hearing about, but unfortunately they don't have the same experience with their parents. Now, when I was a kid, I played a lot of video games. I remember my grandmother, when I was a little kid, got us the original NES system. So we're talking old school square controller, 2 buttons, start, select, and the D-pad, and that's it. And so when I was really young, I was introduced to gaming. So I was playing games like Excitebike, like Mario on the NES, like the original Zelda, so you know, the classics. And so my parents back then were really like not too happy with that decision to get us a Nintendo, because I mean we were kids who played outside a lot. I was in 3 different sports at the time. I was in basketball, soccer, and baseball. I was very active. I was doing very well in school, and so to add gaming to the mix, at first they weren't the happiest about it, and especially back then when gaming was just starting to be affordable for at-home entertainment. But about a week later, they definitely changed their mind, because I wasn't throwing tantrum tantrums, I wasn't wanting to like run away, I wasn't, you know, causing any trouble, I wasn't getting in trouble at school at all, because all I wanted to do was play video games. I didn't drop sports, but when I was at home, I wouldn't yell, I wouldn't scream, I wouldn't run around, I would just sit in my room playing video games. Of course we had family time and all that, and so they started to realize, like, wait, he's playing games and he's developing into being an angel because he's not driving us crazy. So they enjoyed that aspect of it. As time went on, we got the Super Nintendo, we got the N64, we got the GameCube. I mean, this is a long span by this point. I also had is it the Game Gear? Is that the Sega handheld one? I also had a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, and I think that was my last Game Boy that I actually owned. But I played a lot of games, and really the only thing as a kid that was kind of an issue is my parents would be like, okay, we're in a car ride, you need to talk to your family, not play video games. Or, you know, okay, it's time for dinner, stop playing video games. Or, okay, you've been playing for a long time, you need to go outside and play. So there was like little headbutting like this going on. But overall, I mean, our main issue was I'm playing video games. As compared to kids that are being bullies, kids that are causing trouble, doing bad in school. And since I always, at least through after high school, all the way through high school, school to me just kind of came naturally, so I had a lot of time to play video games because I could just BS homework quite easily. It's very different in college, so if you're someone who has an easy time in high school, just know college is much more difficult. You can't BS it. I learned that. It's impossible to BS it, so you have to actually study and all of that. So my parents were always kind of like wondering if they were letting me play too much, but at the same time realizing that I wasn't getting in trouble. So honestly, I probably did play too many video games. I played a lot, and I think that I may have missed out on some experiences in high school and such, because I never went out. I never went out and partied. My friends, anytime we hung out, we'd go to LAN parties and stuff like that. But then again, a lot of my best memories are from the LAN parties, are from gaming, are from those online experiences as well as in person. And a lot of my friends that I went to high school with, we still meet up, we play games online together now that some of us have moved away. And so it has definitely carried over into my adult life. So to condense that down, I started casting at U of O, and then since I was struggling so hard with the math and the programming, I decided to move back home so I could regroup, go back to community college, try and take the more entry-level programming classes and stuff like that because it's a lot cheaper. And then, so I moved back home, and well, as soon as my parents knew that I had a channel that had, at the time it had like 4,000 subscribers or something, my parents were ecstatic. They were like, oh wow, you have this many people following what you're doing, you're very passionate about what you do, you're enjoying it. I mean, you're not making any money. At that point I wasn't making a dime. I didn't make really any money for the first year, but I was spending all of my time doing that, aside from going to class, coming back home, and in between playing games I'd be casting. So from the very start they were very encouraging. My parents have never been really the traditional, you know, like go to college, graduate, get a nice job, you know, have a wife and 2 kids. Like, they've never been super traditional. They've always been more kind of like, you know what, do what it is that you want. Don't let other people tell you exactly what it is you have to do. Don't let other people say you're doing it wrong. Just really do what makes you happy and try and stick with it. So that's living in that kind of environment with gaming, growing up, and then also once I was like, you know what, I don't want to do a job that's going to, you know, force me to be in the sun all day. I'm not going to do a job that forces me to do anything, to sit in a cubicle all day, because that's just not me. That's not what makes me happy. What makes me happy was gaming. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can make a living in gaming. It doesn't have to be making YouTube videos, for example. There's so many companies out there now, like there's Twitch TV, MLG, any game developer company, whether it's Blizzard or EA or Activision or Valve or anything like that. There's so many companies out there that you can work for, and there's a lot of upcoming ones as well. And on top of that, you can start your own company. So the way that I found success was through my YouTube channel. But honestly, all that was a full-time hobby that I took very seriously. I stayed dedicated to it, and this is something that I want to talk about in a different vlog a little bit later. But to go back to the original question, my parents were extremely supportive, and it's just good to know that with my parents, if anything ever happens, like, my parents are by no means wealthy at all, but if anything ever happens, I always have a place that I can fall back to. So say something happens, like YouTube disappears, and my main baby that I've been building up, having fun with, is gone. If that happens, I always have my parents that I can just go back home to. I can be able to do what it is that I want, and I can just make videos no matter what happens. So being able to have that kind of environment has been really a huge blessing, and I really feel bad for people out there who want to do what they love for a living, whether it's computer games, whether it's programming, whether it's professional dirt bike riding, whether it's paintballing, whether it's researching plants. Like, I don't know, but doing what you love for a living, I wish that more parents would be supportive of that and encouraging of that. But schooling is also really important, but I think that there is a balance between doing what you love and also doing what you need to survive. And I wish that a lot of parents would kind of feel that, instead of hammering into their head, you have to do it this way, this is the only way. At least for me, living in an environment with quite a bit of freedom as to what I want to do, especially after I turned 18, my parents were like, okay, you're an adult, you're going to make your own decisions, and any of your own bills and stuff, you got to pay them, but we will support you in whatever it is that you do. So my parents to this day are very supportive. They call me all the time. They're wondering what I'm working on, what's coming up. They were like, oh, I saw this video that you did, and I really like this and this. I didn't like this. What do you think about this? So they are very heavily supportive. That they're watching. They know what I do for a living. They totally get it. And even though they're kind of older school, I mean, my parents, you know, are in their 40s and 50s, just as most parents are. They kind of get that, you know, the internet, while they may not fully understand it, they know it's what I like doing. I love it. I've been able to continue doing it with some success, so they are continuing to be very supportive. So I hope that answered your question, Brock. Thank you very much. Please post comments down below, and from here on out I'm going to be answering 1 or 2 questions per video, just kind of talking. This is going to be primarily on my second channel. A lot of people have asked for more in-depth stuff about my life. I want to talk about how I got into basically what I do now in LA, how I built relationships with Total Biscuit, Rosanna, Dodger, a lot of the other people that I know, like I'm in contact with the Yogscast and stuff like that, so I want to talk about those relationships. I want to talk about esports as a whole, like where it was when I started, where it is now, and where I see it going in the future. And I want to talk about my experiences at MLGs, and I want to talk also about my experiences with new media now that I live in LA, and I've seen, I know a lot of people who are involved in the Hollywood side of things. I know a lot of people who are involved in the new media / YouTube side of things, and kind of comparing where those two sides are at, and why there's a conflict between the two, with SOPA, PIPA, and all that, and how conflicts like that I think can be resolved to where it helps both sides. I want to talk about stuff like that, and just other experiences throughout my life. So it'll be more answering your guys' questions. Look at it as a Q&A, but there's one question answered in great detail in each video. So please post your comments down below. What kind of questions do you want to hear from me? And having some depth to it really helps a lot. So not something like, oh, what's your favorite color? Like, can't really talk about that for very long because it's blue. But anyways, so please post down below. I appreciate all the feedback and the support, especially people who are watching my second channel. Thank you for being so loyal and just being involved in my little corner of the internet. You guys are the best. I really appreciate it. So hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is HDSKieski here, and I have decided on my second channel to go ahead and start vlogging just a little bit. It's not going to be anything too in-depth or too crazy or too special effectsy or anything, but a lot of people have been requesting that I do Q&As and things like that. So what I'm thinking of doing for this is I'm going to kind of focus on one topic for each of these vlogs. And so I want you guys to submit questions. Originally I did it on Facebook, and that's where I'm going to be getting the first question. I also did Twitter, but from here on out I'm going to be doing it in the comments down below because it's easiest for me just to look at everything, consolidate it down, and then pick one topic. End up deciding, hey, I want to go to college. I think that that's kind of what high school is preparing you for. That's the mentality that they're, you know, kind of, I wouldn't say forcing in your brain, but it's really, you know, college is the next step after high school, which is what most people are thinking about, I would say. At least, you know, most people that I knew, that's what they were thinking about. So after high school, I actually didn't have a major plan right away, and this is really interesting to me because everyone I knew in high school was totally stressing out about what are we going to do, where am I going to school, how are my SAT scores, and all that. And that is all Rick for next week. So the very first topic today was given to us by Brock, and his question is multi-pronged and things like that. So really, again, the idea is that I want to talk about the things that you guys have been asking me about for a long time, and finally just be able to kind of answer everything, help people out, give advice, and all of that. So that's kind of the point of this. We'll see how it goes, and if it's something that's cool, awesome. If it's something that's lame, then whatever, I'll just cast more StarCraft. But, so his question is, I have it on the screen behind me here. I guess it's technically behind the camera. What were your original goals for life after high school? How did you end up deciding to dedicate your life to esports, and how supportive was your family of that decision? So this is kind of a 3-question, I guess, and it's a really good set of questions. So I want to answer them kind of step by step throughout each question that he has asked me. The first question was, what were your original goals for life after high school? Now, anyone that's in high school right now, or anyone that's been in high school, this is something that you're thinking about. Are you going to work at the family business? Are you going to be going to college? Are you going to be, you know, trying to apply to a bunch of different jobs? You're really trying to figure out exactly what it is you want to do. Now, the majority of people, I would say, really important stuff. I kind of wish that I would have taken it a little more seriously. But me personally, I'm someone who can kind of just like go with the flow. Just whatever happens in my life, I'm going to be able to take it and it'll be fine, and I'm going to be happy and cheery and all of that. So what that translated into in the real world was after high school, I was like, well, I'm working at a fast food place. Surely this is going to be a wonderful experience. I'm going to continue doing this for, I didn't know how long. I didn't really have a plan, to be quite honest. So when I graduated high school, I started working full-time